everyone. I'm Nicole Boone. Welcome to Conversations with Nicole. Today, my guest is also my friend, Sharon Tutrone. She is a lecturer of broadcast journalism at Coastal Carolina University in Conway, South Carolina, and a former news producer. Sharon, so good to have you on the show today.
Thanks, Nicole. It's always great to be with you. You know that.
I enjoy when we get to talk about news and talk about what's happening at Coastal Carolina University. And it's really been wonderful how our friendship has developed over the past couple of years. So thanks for being my guest today. You have an amazing career in television, more than 25 years in the business as a producer and executive producer. In August of 2011, you were inducted into the Nevada Broadcasters Hall of Fame. Holy moly. And your last position was executive producer at WPDE, ABC 15 in Myrtle Beach. What a career you've had, gal.
Been blessed. I looking back, journalism has been such an amazing profession, and I still to this day consider myself a journalist. It's been a fun ride. Still in high school, and I was already enrolled in college because I knew at the age of 12 that I wanted to be in the business. I wanted to be in TV news. I always knew I never wanted to be in front of the camera. I loved writing. I loved being creative. I loved that component of it. When I graduated with my associates from Long Island in New York, my family relocated to Las Vegas. So I moved to Las Vegas with them, and I started at KTNB, which was the ABC station, as a cut-in producer and an editor. And then I got my first full-time producing job at KESQ in Palm Springs, and I was there for 1 year. An interesting fact about that job, Sonny Bono, when Sonny Bono died in a skiing accident, that broke on my newscast.
Wow.
So that broke in the overnight hours. And I had the chance to meet Cher because she was good friends with Mary Bono, Sonny's wife, and she was running for his vacated congressional seat. From there, I went to Reno, and I worked in Reno for a year. And then I transitioned back to Las Vegas, and I worked at KSNB, which is their call letters now. I also worked at the Fox station there as well. And as you know, in this career, a lot of people, when they see that you're moving, you're chasing the money. You know, you're going for a better opportunity. You're going for an opportunity to move up on that corporate ladder. And then that's where I got my first executive producer position, was at KSNB, which was the NBC station there. And then I was feeling the itch. You know, I'm originally from New York, if you can't tell, and I wanted to come back east. I miss the food, I miss the people. And I had this terrific opportunity with WPDE to be their executive producer. And, you know, I truly believe that, as blessed as I am to say that I was in this profession as long as I was, this was the route my life was meant to take to get me where I feel I was truly meant to be, which is teaching.
Well, I know you're making a difference in the lives of so many students at CCU. And I understand when you get to that season in your life and you think, where am I my best for other people and for myself, for my true purpose? And as you and I both know, television news is a different beast. It comes with a lot of cool opportunities, but it's a tough industry.
Very tough. It's very stressful. You have to get into the business, you have to be passionate about it, because you're not going to get, the money isn't there.
That's right.
But a lot of sacrifices come from this business, a lot. You know, I look back and I don't regret any of the sacrifices that I made, because you know, it was and continues to be a great profession that I will 100% stand behind. But it's stressful. The deadlines, the hours, the responsibility of the job. I mean, you are the voice of the people. Right. All of that does start to weigh on you after years and years and years in the business.
100% agree with that. Couldn't have said it better. So you've got this great career in television. You feel there's something else you need to do. You decided to make the switch from news to teaching. Tell me about that.
I did. And, you know, I started to feel it. I had a 3-year contract with WPDE, and I started to feel it towards the last year of my contract. And I always said to myself that if something wasn't fun anymore, I wasn't going to do it. And it's not that news wasn't fun. It was just the business as a whole was changing. It was becoming more of a business for young people. The business has changed. It is becoming now more digital. Now you have your social media component to it. Many reporters, many reporters are editing and shooting and recording, going live on their cell phone or their iPad. And I saw a lot of producers that were coming in on as part of my team that I spent a lot of time coaching them and mentoring them. Yes. And I had this feeling in a pit of my stomach. I said, you know what? Let me just see, maybe teaching is something fun. Maybe that's where I'm meant to be. And Dr. Jim Everett was the department chair at the time in 2015. And I had reached out to him and had lunch with him. And he's still a colleague to me. And all of my colleagues in the comm department are amazing at Coastal. And he said, you know, why don't you just do a guest lecture and see how that feels? And if that feels right, then let's go from there. And I guest lectured a journalism class, and I absolutely fell in love with it. That was my passion. That was my calling. And I started teaching in the fall of 2015 at Coastal.
I love your story. I feel the same, is that as you get to be older in our business and you do have the young people come in, you do become their teacher. So why not just go ahead and get to the students before they even have to make it into a newsroom? And that's what you're doing. So talk about your classes and what your students are learning. How are you preparing them to be the next generation of journalists?
Sure. I teach 5 journalism classes. They're all writing-based classes. It's print and broadcast. So they're learning the style of writing for journalism for the web. They're learning to write third person. They're learning to write to be objective. Keep your opinions out. When we switch to broadcast, they're learning more conversational. I like to say, write like you talk. If that's not how you would say it in a conversation, then don't write it that way.
Right.
My Journalism 310 is my writing for broadcast class, and that is a writing intensive class. But what I was seeing was some students were not from Coastal, but some students that we were hiring needed to be groomed a little bit more in terms of their producing. So I weaved producing into my Journalism 310 to help them understand the concept of it. But also, it's like I tell my students that class will highlight their ability, not their experience, to get their foot in the door. If you understand producing, chances are you're probably going to have a better opportunity to get into a newsroom as a producer than work your way up.
Yes. So I agree more in today's newsroom. Not so much when we were starting, but in today's newsroom, if you can produce, golden.
Absolutely. So I weave that in, and actually their final project in that class is they're paired into groups, and they have to stack, write, and execute a newscast in our Edwards College studio. Mm-hmm. So there's an anchor, a sports anchor, a producer, and an associate producer who runs the teleprompter. And they do all of this the old-fashioned way of back timing.
Back timing. Right. That's a blast from the past, right?
Yep. And
that's good.
I tell them all the time, I said, I got into journalism because I hated math. Well, you need to know math to get into to time your show. Right. So myself and my broadcast cohort at Coastal is Professor Kim Schumacher. She's also is a reporter. She worked at WBTW.
Yes, I worked with Kim. She's wonderful. Yes.
She is fantastic. So her and I, we have a great collaboration where we work so well together. She knows exactly what the students are going to learn from my Journalism 310. So then when I send them off to her Journalism 314, which is MMJ, Multimedia Journalism Reporting, then they already understand the writing components. So what's really awesome here from these classes that we offer is students are building a reel. They're building a reel from producing, from executing a newscast on air. They have their rundowns, they have their show scripts. And then when they get to Kim's class, then they get their reporter reel. So,
and if they get all that, they have a better chance of getting that first job, because almost even at our level, you know, in the Florence, Myrtle Beach, South Carolina news market, people want you to still have experience. And if you don't have something to show a news director, it's hard to get your foot in the door. You may have to go to a smaller market, which is not the end of the world, but people want to see what you can do. So you're getting your students ready to hit the ground running when they graduate.
Yep.
That's awesome. Well, hey, let's talk a little bit about some of the things that you have a passion for, probably because the ocean is so close by in Myrtle Beach, but you wrote your master thesis, How Ocean Pollution is Injuring South Carolina Marine Animals. Tell me about that.
So that, it's funny how that passion developed. When I was going for my master's, I got my master's through Full Sail University, and I did a year accelerated online. So basically it was one full semester, which is 13 weeks, boiled down into 1 month. And then it changed for, to a different class every month. And my very first story that I did, this was when we were just starting to find our niche, find what our passion was megalodon teeth. And I had an interview with Dr. Dan Abel, who is a marine scientist at Coastal Carolina University. And he said, well, why don't you come out with us on one of my shark tagging trips? They leave out of Georgetown, they go to Winyah Bay. So I said, okay, that'll be cool. And it was the middle of the night where I just thought about ocean pollution. And I said, you know what, this is going to be my thesis. And it just all fell into place. And when we were shooting that, as you know, as a journalist, yes, you never get the good video on the first try. So
very true, especially in that situation.
It's called fishing for a reason.
Yeah, it's not called catching, it's called fishing. You're right.
Right. So it took us 6 trips out there. And then finally we caught juvenile sandbar sharks. And my passion for sharks, they should not be feared. They should be respected. I mean, they balance our ecosystem. They're amazing creatures. Everything that they do to keep the ocean in check. So that is a passion that I still have to this day. I still go out on these shark tagging trips with Dr. Dan Abel. I still shoot stories and post them to my WordPress site because, journalism is about advocacy. It's about generating conversation and creating change. And the more that you get those stories out there, people are going to become aware. And it's going to make a difference. And that's what is so beautiful about journalism, is that we're making a difference simply by the stories we tell.
100% agree. It's educating, it's informing, it's enlightening, it's taking the fear out of something that people fear, as in sharks. They do have a purpose here. And it really is important that we share people's stories, that we share the truth. And that's what you're doing in your classes. And that's what you're doing with your passion for shark tagging and understanding that very unique creature.
Yep. Oh, sharks are fantastic. They're fantastic animals. Don't be afraid of them. Don't fear them.
I'm not
embrace them.
I'm going to embrace them just because you said it. And
embrace them.
And that's something too, in your line of work and in my line of work, we need to be trusted, and you have to earn that trust. And I think that's something that you obviously did in your line of work and local television news, you're doing now at CCU, and you're doing now with your love for shark tagging and understanding that wonderful, beautiful creature that's in our oceans. So listen, this has been a great conversation. This is why I love Conversations with Nicole. I get to let people like you, who are so awesome, who make a difference in our community, who have so many different passions and have a love for helping others, share your story. Your story is so cool, Sharon. I appreciate you so much.
Thank you, Nicole. I appreciate you. You know that.
Well, this has been a lot of fun, and I hope the folks at CCU appreciate all that you're doing to make the Teal Nation thrive and graduate some awesome journalism students, because they are really learning a lot from you. Kudos, my friend.
Thank you. Coastal's great. I love my university. My students are wonderful. And I'm so glad that I was able to be a guest with you, Nicole.
Oh, the pleasure was all mine. You are awesome. Well, listen, thanks again. And folks, that's going to do it for this edition of Conversations with Nicole. Until we meet again, we hope you have a great day.